I will never be able to see him again and I regret missing my chance for a final goodbye. Ask Reddit on Reddit Rundown. What was a life-changing mistake you made? Quitting a great job with huge advancements when I was 19 because of a girl. The job took me out on the road for 2 to 3 weeks at a time and I didn't want to leave her for that long at the beginning of our relationship. Damn, that was dumb. It took me 8 years to make that much money again, and that girl dumped me after 5 months of dating. Heading home after a nice motorcycle ride on a Sunday evening. Decide on a whim to take a small 10-minute detour because it was one of the last days of the year with nice weather. Crashed into the side of a van that didn't give me the right of way at 80 kilometers per hour. Spent 12 days in intensive care, ended up with persistent health problems, and a reconstructed shoulder which left me partially disabled and unable to do sports, lift anything serious, etc. It was a nice ride though. Dating someone who was incredibly toxic for way too long. I don't regret it, though. It taught me a lot about what not to do and how to make sure I'm doing what's best for myself. Somebody replied. It took 5 years for me to figure it out. I got cheated on, abandoned during a mental breakdown that hospitalized me, I had my shins stolen, I got slandered, and the whole time I just prided myself on my ability to bounce back and forgive. It may have been a smaller thing compared to the others, but when she lost my phone and refused to replace it, I finally realized that I had put up with so much shit that I was never going to stop dealing with more of it until I got rid of her. I don't regret it either though. It taught me a lot about patience, and how forgiving isn't the same as a free pass. Sometimes I wonder if she's learned anything too, or if she's just another man's problems. It's likely the latter. Not going to grab a bite with my dad just because I was too lazy to meet up with him there. A day later he killed himself. Also, not being strong enough to see my dad before being cremated. I will never be able to see him again and having missed my chance for a final goodbye kills me every time I have time to think by myself. Edit. Thank you everyone for your kind comments. This happened 5 years ago. I'm married and our daughter will be born in August. Life turned out good for me, but staying as rational as possible, I still think he wouldn't have killed himself if I'd just been a better son and met up with him more often. You know, just be more involved in his life. We'll never know now and that will haunt me for the rest of my life. In my mid-20s I was dating and living a wonderful woman, but I was extremely immature and did a terrible job of keeping my life in order and keeping up decent employment. She gave me so many chances to get my shit together, but time and time again I would just be a useless lump and she eventually broke up with me and kicked me out. I had to go live with my parents. I completely changed after that. Video games became something I did after all my responsibilities were met, not something that kept me from them. I stopped smoking weed for a while so I could land a reliable job, even though the one I found ended up not drug testing me. I started saving money because I couldn't stand living with my parents. Eventually my ex and I reconnected and we eventually moved back in together. We ended up getting a new place that was ours, I had moved into her place, and things just kept getting better. We're now married and homeowners, and I'm waiting to hear about an even better job opportunity. It's a shame we had to come to that for me to get my shit together, but it changed my life. In the mid-2000s I used to work a call center job while finishing up uni. It was a startup fintech type job. People got promoted quickly and they paid above minimum wage. But I was naive and didn't realize how backstabby some people could be to get ahead. I carpooled with somebody who I thought was a friend until he started secretly recording our conversations in the car to curry favor with my managers. Thinking I was safe, I was honest about my feelings about certain things at work, and sure enough he played the recordings to my bosses, and soon after I noticed a change in how I was being treated. They let me go with severance when I caught on to the fact that I was being asked to train my replacement. This led to about 10 months of unemployment with employment insurance and me finding a much better paying job. It was a blow, but I learned from it and I'm glad I'm not stuck in what is ultimately a dead-end call center job, no matter how they spin job titles. Going to grad school. I left a relatively high-paying job in my industry thinking that a PhD would allow me to advance within the industry or at least broaden my career options. However, it did exactly the opposite. I became pigeonholed in my narrow academic field and found myself with very few options as graduation approached. I did find a postdoc position where I essentially did the same experiments I was doing as a grad student. All along I had been applying to jobs in industry as well as academia with very little response. Funding for my postdoc position dried up and I ended up settling for a bachelor's level position with a state agency completely out of my field. I was very lucky in that I was thrown a lifeline by my PhD advisor after a year, which connected me with my current position. I'm not exactly in my dream job, but I enjoy aspects of it and I've achieved some success. It's a new field for me, but one that I much prefer over my previous one. I'm not trying to discourage you from exploring grad school, but my experience is hardly unique. My advice is to talk to as many people in your field of interest as possible to get an overall sense of what career options you'll have and what the job market is going to be like in the near future. Not texting my boyfriend later that Thursday after an argument. I was mad and didn't want to speak to him. When I finally texted him on Saturday, he had already been dead for 24 hours. I wish I had told him I loved him. Everyone says it's not my fault, but I will never know if I had reached out earlier whether that might have been enough to stop him. I'm never ignoring someone I love because of a petty argument, ever again. When I was fresh out of school with a useless degree in creative writing and no experience, in the middle of the recession, I interviewed to be a marketing coordinator for a local fishing resort/marina that was also headquarters for a few dozen vacation resorts along the West Coast. Pay was great. Job perks included free travel and food/accommodation at any of these resorts and a fairly freeform job in creating print and web ads, blog material, doing some market research and interviews. It sounded super fun. I aced the interviews and felt like a shoo-in based on how they were talking to me. I prepared for my life of luxury. They asked me to just throw together a quick ad concept. I was staying at my girlfriend's house when the request came in and she didn't have Adobe CS, so I threw something together quickly in Paint, yes Paint, kind of assuming it didn't really matter since it was just a concept. It was terrible. They went silent, I didn't get the job, and I faced a difficult few years of racking up credit card debt, digging up freelance work, and mass applying to jobs that never contacted me back. I'm doing okay now, but I always wonder what things would be like if that had worked out. Breaking up with a girl I dated in college. I thought it wasn't working. Turns out she found out she had some serious medical stuff going on that she just didn't want to burden me with. I thought she was just getting distant because she was disinterested. Found out years later. Turns out she actually really liked me and, for various reasons I won't go into here, we were perfect for one another according to some mutual friends. She's went on to get the medical stuff fixed/managed. Unfortunately, also fell into drugs and alcohol abuse and is no longer in a good place. Wish I'd have stayed and helped her through it all. I bought a Wii U. I had just gotten a credit card for the first time, and thought I could pay it off in 2 months. Reasonably though, I could have, but things didn't work out that way. Next month I had to get a new car battery and replace a few parts, eating up what should have gone to paying the rest off. Things got worse from there. I had to leave my job to be able to graduate college, then couldn't find a job for 8 months and living off of scraps a month and having to put more and more on a credit card. It didn't get any better for a while. More things happened. I moved 3 times within a year, and now it's 4 years later. I'm just now starting to feel like I'm secure again. Not a hooker, this was a weird Craigslist ad from Florida reposted to a humor group for laughs/horrified disgust. Some guy said his wife passed away a couple years ago and she was cremated. He was offering to pay a woman willing to insert a small amount of his dead wife's ashes into her vagina, and have sex with him. Price not specified. Weird, but I figured the best thing to do was try to make it weirder with my response. Me, I'd be down. Make her spirit angry. Her final rest interrupted by literally being inserted into a situation where her husband is fucking another woman. Then her spirit becomes restless and can't find peace, and voila. I'll be the first woman ever to queef a ghost. And queef ghost will forgive me. I'll tell her he was a douche and she was the only memorable thing about his dick. Then we'll be best pals, me and queef ghost. Thanks for listening to Reddit Rundown. Give a thumbs up and subscribe, and help me get to 1,000 subs. Leave a comment below on what kind of topics or stories you would like to hear. You can also check out other videos on my channel. Thanks and have an awesome day.